All right, it's time to quick speed shop. Check it out. Bam! Oh, where is it? Right there. Blinking lights, a tailgate, all kinds of fun stuff happening on the back of the Dodge today. And let's make it all happen right now. Hey guys, welcome back to the Quick Speed Shop. I'm Josh, and today we're working on the brown Dodge truck once again. Tailgate edition. If you haven't seen it, it's a 1980 Dodge 8-foot stepside W200 restoration. And today we're going to try to figure out this tailgate, which is bent and twisted and rusted, all the above. Yes. So here you can see the tailgate chain piece holder. This has been broken off and like booger welded with a stick welder and then bolted because it must have broke again. That's all monkeyed up. The bottom pivot tube is all twisted and rusted. It's all to the top of it full of pinholes there. This is ripped, this is bent. This was bent really bad. I straightened this out off camera. Got a big high spot in here, some dents. So we are going to straighten this guy out. I think the first thing I'm going to do is take a big swing at it. We're going to try to hey ho ho ho. Got my maraca hammer. Let's straighten these edges out pretty decently. What I'm trying to do is get this ready to replace the bottom pipe. And I've got this 1-inch heavy wall pipe here. I'm going to replace the bottom of it. This is actually just sheet metal rolled around and spot welded on itself. So I'm going to cut it off and leave a little lip to weld onto this. But I had to get most of the damage taken out of the tailgate. So it's pretty much back to original action now. So we can go ahead and cut the bottom of this off and get this piece welded up on here for a new bottom section. Got to do one little bit hammering over here, but that's the plan. And then make some new pivots to go in it and just get it mounted up on the truck. Okay, you just saw the fast motion of the welding. I actually did a whole bunch of more welding because I ended up fully welding this piece front and back, which took forever, probably like over an hour of welding and cooling, but I've completely welded the pipe both sides, as you can see there, because there was 2 layers of metal, so I wanted to attach them both. And I'm just going to wire wheel this and clean it up and then slap some primer and paint on it, so you'll see the weld on the outside, but that's fine. But now it's going to be super strong. I've fixed the cracks over here in the edge on both sides, fix that up. I'll grind this down smooth, but this thing is locked in good. I had some crack and breaking on the mount here. I welded the back of that rivet up. The other side, they did a horrible job fixing this. The thing is all like stick welded and burned through. I might try to weld some of this up and mangled and stuff, but I think it's probably gonna be real hard to get it loose. But I should take this bolt out, so maybe it's broke free. I don't know. I think they butchered the crap out of that. But so the next step is going to make the pivots to mount this, and I've got this. This is 1-inch tube, and I got this piece must be 3/4, and it fits inside here pretty good. It's pretty tight. So that's going to make a good pivot here. I'll have to grease it up really good. So it'll probably go back in about that far or so on each side, and then it'll come out here. There's going to be a tab welded to the back of it that will bolt down to this side of the this structural steel here to hold it. So we've got to make 2 of those here, so they'll be like that, something like that, and then bolt down here, and we'll have our tailgate mounted. I guess I should make a center hinge. I'll have to get a piece of tubing that's big enough to fit over this one and weld that to a tab that will bolt down kind of like a clamshell mount. That will help hold it. But before I shut it down tonight, let's go ahead and hang this on the back of the truck and take a look. Ooh, it's heavy. Look at that. All right, so just a little bit of faux packs here from working on custom stuff without knowing how everything goes together. To actually get this tailgate to fit right, it needs to go up just a little bit. Like here, so the pivot is going to be in the way of this little lip for the taillight bucket, which isn't a big deal. I can just cut this back and grind this flush enough to get the pivot to be here. It'll be up over the bucket just a hair. I mean, the light is back up in here anyways, and I didn't, obviously we didn't have the tailgate on it when I made it, just because it was all wonky and junk. The other thing I noticed is this tube, the heat warped the tube. Sometimes when you weld just on one side of a tube, it'll curve it, and that's what happened. It's got a little bit of a warp. It's also being held by the plywood here. I got to pull the plywood out and trim just a little bit off the front. It's just, apparently the bed is like 1/4 inch shy of 8 foot, which I find hard to believe. Oh, you know why? Because the angle iron is welded to the other angle iron. So I lost a 1/4 inch. Dang it. Anyways, so right now the plywood's holding the tailgate out, so we got to fix that. I'm going to try to straighten this tubing out. I can probably just put it on the floor and use my floor jack and push down on it and straighten it back out, get it flattened back out, so that'll help. Maybe the center hinge will help hold it, but that's pretty thick. I got to bend it there. So it's going to end up, I'm going to have to grind this lip off just a little bit here to get that to work. Okay, I got the hinges tacked together here and mounted up. I took that 3/4 pipe or whatever it was, and it slips inside the tailgate nice. And I just took some of this flat stock that is actually some of this old welding table here and tacked it on there. There's going to be 3 5/16 bolts to hold it to the steel. It's going to mount to this real heavy channel, so it should be good. I also just straightened the bottom of the tube out. You can see now it's nice and straight to the bottom of the truck. I just put a 2x4 on each side, and I jumped on the middle of it and was able to bend it enough to straighten it back out. So now she's nice and true to the box. And I also trimmed the plywood off in the front a little bit, so I was able to slide it ahead enough so we can get the tailgate to actually be functional. And it should be functional. I noticed I had to, like I said, I had to trim these around to clear the gate pieces. So we're ready to see if this thing's going to be functional. So this guy's a little stiff on this one. The tailgate's still got a little bit of twist to it, but take that guy out, take that guy out. Oh, look at that. Man, that is awesome. How far does this go down? All the way down. Oh, all the way to the trailer hitch. Where's the hitch? Right there. So that appears to be a win right there. This thing works super, super nice. There's no, I'm going slow just so I don't drop it, but there's like hardly any resistance. When I oil these hinges up, when we put it on permanently, it'll be good. That fits there. Like, the chains are smaller than these pins, but the chains will hang in here and hold it. And I might, since the slots are ovaled, I might get some pins like this permanently that I could just pin it as well as chain it, just so in case the chains ever fall out, the tailgate doesn't fall down, because they tend to want to come unhooked. These chains for here, actually here's one right here. These chains, they appear to have pretty big hook on them, so they will go there. Then actually we might as well just try it right now. There's a little link and they go here. These are not the original chains, they've been replaced, but they are the original hooks. So these guys will just hang here. And like I think I said earlier, I'm going to get some inner tube, bicycle inner tube, because you hear that? They would absolutely tear the paint right off the whole back of this thing if they just hung loose with no inner tube on them. Ask me how I know. I've had it happen on my other trucks. So now you just take the hook out, hook her in there, and boom, look at that. How awesome is that? Huh? That's super awesome. Obviously you'd want both chains on it, but we've got tailgate, functional tailgate action right here, right now. We're looking right at it. I can't believe it, but we got to. That's awesome. So then when you go to close it, just take the chain out, close the tailgate, put the chains in there. Yeah, see? So I think I'm going to get a second pin. These are worn enough. Well, that one's really worn. I might have to weld that up a little bit. These are worn enough where the tailgate's going to want to come open some. But if I have it like a secondary pin, or even these pins, just have a secondary pin. Yeah, I'm going to do that. That way they will stay closed. And even if the chain comes out, the tailgate will stay closed. I'm going to drill it right now that's in place. I'm going to drill the bolt holes for the hinge, and I'll take them back off and weld them up solidly. The actual floor I'm going to use 5/4 deck boards. They're, the ones are like 6 inches wide and like an inch thick with the rounded edges. So they will be treated lumber. I might even weld a piece of angle iron across the back of this to encapsulate the back of the lumber with steel so the tails don't get all wild. And just have a piece of steel to make like a transition. It would hang over so the boards would slip under it, and they would just kind of be a friction fit on this rear cross member, because it's going to be hard to bolt to there with the edge. I'll probably end up doing that, and that'll give us a nice edge where you won't catch the lumber, you'll catch just the steel. But I like how this works. It works really nice. Also, before we get too carried away, I want to think about making a center hinge here. That's why the tailgate has got the slot in it. They had a center hinge of some sort. I'm not even sure what it looked like. But I think I can just find a piece of tubing that fits over this, and then we'll weld a piece of flat stock to it that'll kind of like clamshell it together. A lot of trucks didn't have a center hinge. The Dodge did for whatever reason. But I mean, this tube is pretty strong, so I don't think it's necessary now to have it. But if we can kind of fabricate one without too much trouble, I mean, might as well. It's not going to hurt to have a third hinge. All right, guys, prepare to be amazed. It's awesome. I hung the chains back on here so we can get a look-see. But you'll see the third hinge. I ended up making it. We're going to go with it. It's a piece of tubing that this is how I'm pretty sure it's how it was-ish. It kind of like goes through that slot. But this thing works sweet. So you can see here, It's I use the same plates as I used to make the other hinges, and I found a piece of tubing that was bigger than the pipe on the tailgate, and just cut it halfway through so I could get it over there. If I planned ahead, I could have sleeved the thing all the way around and then welded this to it, but I didn't plan ahead. I would have had to slide it onto there first, so you just got a bottom clamshell piece there, but this material is pretty thick, so it should add some support. And I went and I drilled all the holes for the hinges so I could take the clamps off and show you how it works. So I think I do want to just take these pins, since I got them and they fit, just go like that and just have these, I'm in the shadows, have these ride like this. That way the tailgate can't ever come open. The chain would have to work on falling out too. It's going to kind of hold it in there. But you see here what I was talking about with the needing the inner tube, because this is super noisy. See, the paint's all wore off here. That's from the chains rattling around. But if I put both pins in, I need both hands here. Hold on. Need both hands to put these in here. Bam. Put both pins in like that. That really that takes a lot of the rattle out of the tailgate, because the pin kind of wants to go and hang in there and keep the chains in there. So I think that's a win. That looks awesome. I'm super happy with it. These hinges should be really strong. You know, like I said, as long as you don't drop engine blocks on the tailgate, it should stay in there. But that's a win right there. That looks pretty cool. And these are still just tacked, but I got everything drilled, so now I can take the tailgate off and weld up the hinges and primer everything up. This here is just going to get wire wheeled to clean up the slag on the welds, clean it up good, and I'm going to tape it and just prime it and paint it right at this line here. So this will just be a little bit of brown on the bottom. I'm not going to touch any of the other paint on here. We're going to rub this out with the buffer. So you can see here, like, the paint should come back once I buff it with some rubbing compound with a buffer. And almost see the metallics real nice in there. So a lot of this should clean up fairly well. All right, I'm over here in Eddie's You Do It paint store. Got a primer going on the tailgate here. I've got this Rust-Oleum Professional Brown that is, I'm going to redo the brown paint on the back of this. Before I had used Rust-Oleum Saddle Brown, just in regular size. And I don't know if you can tell in the camera, but the caps are a little bit different. This Rust-Oleum Professional is a little bit darker. It's not dark enough to match like the original brown, but it's a little bit darker than here. So I'm going to redo all this that I had sprayed before. I just scuffed it Scotch-Brite really, really fast. I had to wait a couple days for it to dry originally, because it will lift and wrinkle. One color will lift the other one, which I found out when I tried painting it too fast. But while this is drying here, I'm just going to go ahead and hit that. What is this? Oh, it's black. The hinges I'm going to paint flat black. Everything else is going to be brown. The tailgate and stuff is going to be brown. So I'm just going to fog a little on here. Oh, I got to move the welder. Oh, here. Just going to fog a little on it and change it to just a little bit lighter, or a little bit darker brown. And we're doing it really, really fast, and not worrying about so much the quality. I just want the color. But I had good couple coats on there before. And is it going on, making it any darker? I got to move the welder before I get paint on it. But that looks a little bit browner. I'm sure that's really hard for you guys to tell, but I can tell it's taken just a little bit and put just a little bit more dark action into it. So I just got to fog a bunch of things like the filler neck that we installed. That gives me a chance actually to paint up the hardware too that was on it. So the hardware is going to be all painted, but I'm just going to fog a couple of coats on here of this other color brown, just to darken her up just a little bit. I'm going to spend the rest of the night painting. We'll come back tomorrow and we'll finish up with assembling all this, and like I just said, going on to something else. I don't know, playing it by ear. It's next day. I've painted the bottom of the tailgate here, And the brown doesn't look too bad. This darker brown is a lot closer to the original brown, so it's not going to be real noticeable. But we're ready to hang this guy on the truck. Oops. How did this happen? And I've got the hinges all painted black. I'm going to grease them up and slide them in here. We'll just hang this guy in here. Put this pin in so it doesn't kill me. But yeah, we're gonna, oh yeah, that darker brown, that looks a lot better than the other brown that was on there. So let's hang that guy on there. And where are the hinges? Right here. Oh, everything's covered in grease and goo. Dang. So you can see I just flat blacked them and then I greased them up so I can, that guy right in there. Some nice grease. Let's see here. Got some nice brand new hardware. I got nylock nuts and hardware, so this thing will stay on here forever. Everything is slimy. Nasty. Get in there. Okay, now with the tailgate all mounted up, I'm working on wiring, get the taillights mounted up in this thing. And I'll show you what I got going on here. The factory connectors are here. They are this style here with a rubber piece. And I've got the other side, which I cut off the original taillights, and they had been monkeyed with. There's some butt connectors here, and then there's another set of butt connectors. I don't know why they had been spliced so many times, but probably had 2 or 3 sets of different lights on it along its way. But it's got the factory end that goes on here, and there's a pair of these. You know, this yellow one is the driver's side and the green one's the passenger side. See here, I've wired in, or started to wire in, a flat 4 connector because there's no trailer lights on this truck. And what I'm eventually going to use is this 7-pin, this Hopkins 7-pin and 4-pin connector here. And on the back of it, it makes its connection for the taillights of the 4-pin. So this will plug in here to the flat 4, and then we'll have the blue wire for the electric brake controller. The white is ground, and purple and black are for, one of them's for continuous power, and the other one's for like backup light or something if you want those on the trailer, I guess. But we just need the blue and the white, and then these will hook into here, click like that, and this will mount either in the bumper or down here off the hitch or something like that. So that's provided for there. So I ran the left turn and the tail light wire from the hitch connection over here into the bucket. We also got our left turn and stop wire here from the truck and the marker lights. These are 2 wires. I think it goes to the other side to do that marker light. Then we got 2 other bolt connectors. I believe this one, the black one, I think it's black. I can't really tell, but I believe this is the reverse lights, and then it goes over to the other side, because this red one, I don't know what this is or where it goes, but eventually I'm going to have little LED reverse lights probably in the bumper. They're just like little single bullet lights that would shine through the bumper for reverse lights with the transmission. So we're not going to use that there, but we need this for the brake lights. So the harnesses we're going to be working with here for the LED lights for the trailer lights. We've got the main tail light here with 3 connections, stop, tail, and ground, and then the side marker light, which is just tail and ground, and that will go in the side here of the bucket in the grommet there, and you'll have your side marker light LED. So that's just tail and ground. The ground on these is always white. So we're going to make a common ground point in the bucket here with a screw that everything will ground to. And then I'm going to use the ground for the trailer harness. It's going to ground here to the frame back on this bracket back here. And then I'm also going to ground the bottom of the box here too. The frame is grounded right to the battery and the engine, so this will ground our harness to here, and then we'll ground the box just in case it's not getting a good ground because everything is painted. We'll make an actual ground to ground both of them together, and that will allow this to be grounded so we can use our ground connections, and there'll be ground connection in each taillight bucket. It's always real, you know, a lot of problems happen to ground, so you can never have too many grounds connecting things together. So the box will be grounded to the frame, which is grounded to the engine and grounded to the battery, and through metal will be grounded here. So that's what I'm working on now. These harnesses, we're going to make all our connections up in the bucket itself. These pigtail connections will be made up here, and then the actual truck harness will be fed down out and plug in there. So eventually, if you wanted to take the box off again, you could just unplug this right from here. Back here, you could unplug it, and the taillights and everything would stay, and then you just have to undo the one ground from the box, and you could take the box off without any trouble. But hold on, and while I'm saying that, I'm seeing a faux pas on our plan. The trailer light connector will be wired through the lights, and there's no joint in that. Do I want to put a joint in that so I can unplug it, or is it not necessary? Oh shoot, I was going to say you could just zip tie it and it could come with a box, but I ran the wires through the frame. So now, unless I go up and over the frame, you know what, that's all I'll do. I'll go up and over the frame with these wires. That way, if you want to take the box off, you just cut the zip ties, and this will go with the box. It's good you guys caught that, because it would have been a bummer later to take the box off and have to take half the wiring apart. So I'll pull these back out of here, and I'll run them up and over the frame on both sides. That way, this harness just cut the zip ties, and it can go with the box. Whew! Crisis averted. Thanks for telling me. Okay, I've got my wire connections made up here in the driver's side taillight bucket. Got the connector for the big light. I've already got the marker light in and plugged in. I put a ground screw there, a little stainless steel Phillips screw with a nylock nut to ground that. You'll notice my connections here, I've got a black square connection. What I'm actually using is some wiring units called lever nuts made by Wago. And what they are is a little spring-loaded connector. And you just flip up these little lever locks, and you jam the wires into the holes there. Then you snap them down, and they lock on the wires. You put up to 5 in this one. You can put up to 3 in this one. So for this one, I had 4 wires for the brake light. For the running light. I had 2 running lights, and then I had the running light for the trailer harness, and then the running light from the truck. So I used a 5 one there to do the 4s. And then for the brake lights, I just had 3 wires. So I use a 3 guy there, and I just wrapped a little bit of electrical tape around them to hold them closed so they don't jiggle. I've plugged the light in the truck harness in here, right there. You see that? And then the other wire is going to go there. I'll zip tie or tape these together so they don't just sit there and vibrate. The reverse lights will hook up later when the bumper's on. But this is ready to go. Just got to put the gasket on and put the tail light in. So all that entails is this rubber gasket. Made in USA, Jamestown, New York. Look at that, groat. So the gasket goes in the hole first, and then the wire just plugs onto the pigtail here, like so. That's that. Gotta get the gasket all the way in. And then you just push the light into the gasket. Boom. There we go. That's awesome. Got our LEDs, and then they just float in the rubber gasket there in the trailer bucket. That's what this is, in the trailer bucket that I use in there. But how cool does that look? Like super refined and smart. And these are super, super bright LED trailer lights. You'll have them lit up, as a marker light, and then they light them both up when I hit the brake light. Then we'll have the marker light over here on the side. But that looks super mint. It actually looks really good with the brown and the black trim around here. So I'm just going to wire up the other side, and then we should be able to turn the battery on to the truck and hit the key and check and see if these lights work. What do we got? We got a turn signal? Oh, heck yeah, bro. Oh, dang, that's bright. Yikes. All right, let's see if we got the right guy. Oh yeah, bam. That's awesome. Now, let's go for the running lights. Right here. What do we got? Oh, I see light out the side. Yup, that's lit up. That's lit up, that's lit up. And that's lit up. And if all that stuff's lit up, that means that the trailer plug here is good because it's all hooked together. We could check it with the test light, but we'll do that. I'll do that later. But man, that's awesome. So now I got running light, and I should have brake light with the running light. Yep. That's awesome. Man, those things are bright when you get down right where you guys are looking. Awesome. You probably can't see the marker light from where you're at. So let's take a look. Look how bright that is. Dang, that's bright. There's the marker light on the side. I like it. Now let me go up to the front and see if those marker lights I changed out in the front of the truck are working. Oh, these still aren't working. None of them are working. There's something... I got a ground issue or something going on with these lights. This isn't working for some reason. Dang. I got some kind of electrical gremlin in this truck because for certain things aren't working. All right, we got marker lights and turn signals on the upper lights, but those lower lights still aren't working. But when I put the test light on the wires, I get something. So there's something wrong with the harness. These aren't working either. They should be on right now. Well, anyways, there's something goofy with something in the truck. I got to figure it out. But bam, that's awesome. They look great on there. I love how they look. I like the way the back of this truck came out. I like this detail and everything. And that's a win for sure. At least I can drive it now around once I get it on the road. Of course, it's winter, but at least it's got taillights, brake lights, and headlights and front turn signals on the plow frame. So it can be driven and indicate some stuff. Before I get it inspected in the springtime, I'm going to have to go through it and fix the horn. I don't know why that doesn't work. None of the dash lights work, and the wipers don't work, and the four-ways and the front marker lights don't work. So there might be a loose connection in the harness or something in the dash, I don't know. Or I think all the fuses are good. I checked that, so I got to play around with it. But for now, there's enough lights that the truck could be functional, and that's a win. So a lot of good stuff happened in this video. Fixing that tailgate, that was a big job, but it works mint now. Making those custom hinges, they look good. Darkening up the brown paint so it's in the dark, you can't even really kind of tell. And getting the tail lights and the marker lights and the brake lights all hooked up. That's super awesome. I love it. I love this truck. Can't wait. We're real close to bolting the fenders on permanently, building the bumper, hanging that on there, and then putting the drive shaft in, finishing the exhaust, and then the thing's going to be a little bit fired up and moved in and out. And we'll be on another project, but we'll finish it up in the spring. But I at least want to get it 99% of the way done. So another big step today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bam, one step closer to success here on the brown Dodge. I love it. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and do all that stuff. We'll see you next time.